Hi everyone, if you're watching recording, do fast forward about 1 minute. We're a little behind today, so just give me just a second here as I'm getting everything up and running. Open that up. Close, so close. Oh, I hate being behind. But here we are. All right. Coolness. Okay, talk to me, honey. Facebook is up and running. It is, what is today? It is May 10th. All right. Twitch is coming up. Yeah, can you believe it actually snowed yesterday? Snow, I know. What was it? 3 weeks ago, it was 85 degrees. And then yesterday, it snowed. Yes, if you're following me on Instagram, you can see that it snowed. What the heck? So totally expected a miserable day today, too. But it's turning out to be a really nice day, so I'm sort of excited for that. I don't know why, but the sun just makes me happy when I see it. It's a thing. It's a total thing. Oops. Lost my earring. Huh. Hello, Facebook. Hello, Twitch. By the way, if you're watching Twitch or Facebook, do give us a little like, and on Twitch, give us a little comment. It helps our algorithm. It keeps things rolling around here. So really appreciate that if you would do that for us, And you can just say hi on Twitch or tell us where you're twitching from. I know Pennsylvania's in the house today. Woohoo! I am very close to getting everything here. Yeah, it's a mess of tools. It's sort of interesting, but I find that cold connections, it's just like there's so many tools to go with cold connection. Look, it's a mess of tools. All right, it's just past 1 o'clock. Let's get started. Andy's ready. I'm ready. It is Monday, and it's going to be a great day today. Busy day. We had house guests over the weekend. They left this morning, and I'm like, okay, go. I have something to do. Go. I know, it's really bad. But as much as I wanted them to stay longer, it would have been a little bit easier if they stayed longer, actually. Then I wouldn't be like, get out the door, right? So I can do this. But in any case, so here we are. Today is Mix It Up Monday. It's the last of the projects, and you know what? I changed the schedule a little bit for next week. So next Monday, we're going to finish up Monday, the Mix It Up Monday, and we're going to put it all together next week. So we're going to do the cold connection project today, and then on Wednesday, we're starting a new step-by-step surprise project. So let's just jump in. It is the cold connection project. Here we are. So we're going to cold connect all these elements, including the bezel for the stone. And you'll be like, what? How do we do that? Well, it's not that easy, but it's not that hard either. It's just about the tools. There's lots and lots of tools. So what do you need today? We're going to need a leather mallet, rawhide mallet, same thing. Some pliers, of course. We always want pliers around. Keep them handy. You never know when you're going to need them. This is a multi-looping plier. You'll want to keep a pair of that in hand. If you don't have a multi-looping plier, a round nose plier will also work, but that will make life a lot easier today. We're going to need some bezel shears because we're cutting sheet metal, a hole punch for the rivets, of course, to make the holes, and let's see, a bench pin and a saw with saw blades because we are going to saw out this area on the inside. A divider will make your life a lot easier. If you don't have a divider, invest in one. They're only $8. But if you don't have a divider, you can definitely use a ruler and a Sharpie. I will be using a divider today. A bench block, of course, because we are doing cold connections. A curved burnisher for setting the stone when we get to that point. Metal file. They're great to have. And of course, a pair of tweezers will be your friend. In addition, there is a tool that most of us don't have, and a pair of flush cutters. These are the Lindstrom flush cutters. This will also make life a lot easier for you when you're doing this kind of a cold connection. And so what I was saying was, in addition, there is a tool that most of you don't have, but I'm going to show you how to make one, okay? So here, if you can see that, this is actually, it's funny, I was showing my house yesterday, what do you call this? He goes, that's a metal stamp. Like, no, it's not. So actually it is, what did we decide? It was a finishing punch is what it is. And if you look at it, it's a flat top. okay? But if you don't have something like this, you can do it with a nail. And I'm going to show you how to do that. All right, so let's do that first, okay? So this is simply a nail with a nice big head on it that I sawed off. So we'll just do that here. We'll saw this off and, let me think. What am I doing? Let me set up my bench pin first and then change cameras so you can see what I am doing. All right. Let's go right there. Oops. So all I'm going to do with this nail is I'm just going to take off a little bit of it. And I'm just going to use my jeweler saw, of all things, right? Because this is a steel nail. You don't want to use an aluminum nail because we're going to use it as a tool, as a punch. So you definitely don't want to do that. We'll just put it right here. And I'm sawing off about 1/4 inch. And you want to go ahead and use a heavier saw blade if you have it. If not, you might struggle with a standard 2/0. So I've got a 3 in here. It'll make my life a lot easier. And notice where I have it. I have it in the hole, with the nail between the hole, and it keeps leverage for me. And it just holds it in place until I stop and start talking. Do remember when you're sawing to do long strokes and not little strokes like this. It's going to take forever. And it might take, because this is steel, it might take a couple of saw blades. So don't be too surprised if you break your saw blade. And what happened here, oh, come on, don't break, is my cut compressed onto my saw blade. So, how am I going to do this? I'm going to break the saw blade. There you go. So I'm twisting it off and I'm going to come from the other side. Because I'm pushing down on this, and so as I cut, it just came up over my blade and pinched my blade. So that's what happened there. I'll have to remember to pick that up. Okay, so I have a nice cut. All I'm going to do now is I'm just going to sand it a little bit just to give myself a really nice smooth surface. Because I don't want to ruin my chasing hammer either, or my riveting hammer, or any hammer for that fact. So I'm going to take off those sharp edges. Hair's all over my face today. Don't know why. Okay, so you want to create a nice smooth surface. I have a little bit of rust on here, so I'm going to take that off too. And I'm using some pretty heavy grit sandpaper just because I want it to go a little faster. So this is probably about 200 grit is what I've got going on. There you go. Okay, so I have a tool now. We'll set that aside, and let's go back to our other camera. Okay. All right, so now that we have a tool, let's go ahead and start cutting our piece. Now remember, because we're using this as a component, as a focal, and it is a switch out for the bracelet, that we can switch out that focal point, right? Because we're doing that, we want to make sure that we are not making a piece that is bigger than all the other ones. So you want to keep it at about 1 1/4 to 1 1/2. This one's going to grow a little bit, but we have a little bit of room for air on this one, okay? So I'm going to cut my rectangle. You can do a square if you want, but I'm going to cut my rectangle at no more than 1 inch wide and about 9/10 the other way, because I just wanted a rectangle shape. But again, if you want to do a square shape, you can. You can do a 9/10 by 9/10. That's not a bad size either. So we'll just use our divider to do this. For me, this is the easiest way to go. So I am going to Measure that. And for this piece, I have a brass texture sheet on the bottom and I put copper on top. You can use whatever you want to use, but this just sort of created a little bit interest for me and gave it some texture, right? So we'll start with the brass, and I'm just going to score it just like that. I know you probably can't see that score line. There it is. You can just barely see it, but that would be helpful. Pull out your shears. If you have a bench shear, of course, use your bench shear. It's a lot straighter than this, but we want to make this as straight as possible, of course. So we'll go like so. And you know what? I really want to make sure that this is square. So I'm going to find something that I know is square. And I'm going to put this up and see how I'm doing. Okay. All right, so I know that this edge and this edge is square. So I'm going to use that as my marker. And then on the other side, we're going to measure for a 9/10. About there. That's good. And we're going to use that as an edge, like so. And we're going to trim that down. Okay. Flatten that piece out because, as you can see from cutting, it is curved. And then I'm going to use this as a template. Okay. I say that. Actually, I'm going to just make a cut first, and then we'll retrofit it. There we go. Flatten that out. And make sure that these are the same. Okay, so I'm slightly off. Oh, how off am I? Oh, not that off. Oh, that's pretty darn close. So I'm a hair off down here. I'll go ahead and trim it by eyeballing it. It's too small for me to measure. So I'm just gonna shave a hair off. Just like that. And then I'm going to take my side cutters and we're going to trim the corners. I like to do it this way because it's faster, so that I can create a radius on my corners, and then I'll file it to make it nice and round and smooth. For me, this is the easiest way to do it. If you don't trim these corners, then you're just going to sit here and file until you get a corner. Some people don't think that's very hard. It's not hard, it's just time consuming, right? And who wants to sit here and watch that? Okay. So I hope you guys all have a nice weekend. Back to the grind this week, right? For some of us. There we go. So we're going to go back, file all those edges, make it nice and round. And notice how quickly I can accomplish that now that I created a radius on these ends. Okay. And yes, I'm a double filer. I file in both directions. Some people say it's a no-no. I say, why not? It goes faster. Okay. Okay, so now that I have my two pieces, I need to make this into a frame. So I'm going to measure out approximately 5 millimeters on my divider. And I'm going to score a frame for myself. Just like so. So we'll put it right on here. You know, I keep losing my earrings. Okay, I lost the other one too. Yes, earrings are falling from my ears. Don't know why. So notice I'm just going to score around like so. Make sure that you have enough room. Oops. make sure that you have enough room in the middle, whatever your opening is, for your bezel cup, okay? I feel like that's a little bit wide, so I'm going to reduce that just a little bit here. Didn't I do it at 5? Okay, maybe I did it at 6. Scored again. Just felt like it was a little bit big. Okay, so now I have my score. I'm going to take out my punch, and I'm going to punch anywhere in the middle of that frame, because this is where I'm going to put my saw blade in, and we are going to saw that out. All right, back to the bench pin and switching cameras. Let's see. Oops. There we go. Okay, so the key to doing the frame is to get the camera to stop shaking. Switch out my saw blades. I had a number 3 saw blade in here because I was sawing out that that nail, but I'm going to switch over to a 2/0, which I'm much more comfortable with, right? So put the saw blade in. I don't know why, but I always like to start with the bottom one. Oops. Okay, upside down. There we go. And then we're going to insert the piece inside, like so. You know, I'm a little bit close, aren't I? Can you see that? So I put the piece in with the score mark facing up so I can see what I'm doing. And then I'm going to close the top part here. Okay, tighten it by holding it, open the back side while I'm pulling down on this, on the bench, tighten it up, and there it is. A little bit of cut loop is helpful. Not everybody likes it, but I do. Okay. And we're going to put it right into that circle and start sawing. So I'm going to go out from that hole to my mark and then make my churn and follow that line. Am I still upside down? All right, let me fix that. Is that better? Okay. I don't know why, but I have a hard time with this. Okay, so there. So we're going to saw all the way to the corner. If you want a radius, go ahead and create a radius, but I want a square corner. So I'm going to stand, while I'm standing still, I'm moving the saw up and down in place and then turning it until I'm going the other direction, till I'm at that 90 degrees. Something wrong here. To the corner, going up and down in one place. I'm turning my saw until I get to that 90 degrees that I want. Can you see I have a really nice tight corner there? Because again, I'm not cutting when I'm turning. I am just keeping it in one position so that I can turn my blade. Like so. Right to the edge, or right to the corner, churning. frame. Now, I know that it's not cut perfectly. You can see that there. So we'll just pull out our file and let's just file it here, right? So if you did not saw perfectly straight, pull out your file and file it. Okay, let's see if I get this one here. Not bad. Let's see how this fits. Fits my bezel. I'm pretty happy. You know, if I was to be really particular, if I was going to be particular about it, I just threw it on the floor, right? Hold on. Oh. Oh no. Oh. Okay. All right. There we are. Okay, so next up, let's go ahead and frame this out. Actually, you know what? I'm going to do this afterwards. Let's pull out our Sharpie, mark where we want to do our rivets. Sharpie. Can't find my Sharpie. There we go. And it's about 12 millimeters apart. And I'm just going to wing it. And do it like so. Okay. All right, let's switch out and go to the other camera. So then we need to make the hooks for, the loops for your bracelet to latch onto. Okay, we'll use your 16 gauge wire. At that point, we're going to cut 2 pieces at 1 3/4 inches. Cutter. So there we are. Like so. Okay. I'm going to nip off that little tiny bit of a beveled edge, just because I like it a little bit better. Instead of filing, you could file that, but you know, why file when you can cut? All right, then we're gonna make 2 loops going in the same direction using the smallest part of your multi-looping plier. Just like so. And then so. We'll repeat it for the other one too. So you want those nice and even, of course. Do the same here. And you can see. Then I'm going to put it into the second to largest loop, like that. And I'm just going to push it back. Trying to make it as even as possible, okay? I'm not so worried. You see how it curled up? I'll flatten it out later. I'm not so worried about that, but I did narrow that pretty good. I made that into a hot mess, so as much as I'm not so worried about it, this is a little bit further than I want it to go. All right. So then with your band, you want to make sure that this is wide enough to go over, the loop is wide enough to go over that wire. So I've made it too small, you see, because like this one, so you can see, is wide enough for that, whereas these are a little bit too narrow. So I'm going to put it back into the largest one, and I'm going to expand that so you can see there. And I'm simply just forcing it open like so. And that just made it bigger. Let's see. Yeah, okay, that works. So I take it back. It's the largest one. It's the largest loop on your multi-looping plier. All right, so now we're going to flatten it out. Remember how I like torqued that? So we'll flatten that out. You do want this to be nice and flat for the riveting process, as you can see. Okay. So now I'm going to punch, what am I doing? We're going to punch 4 holes using the 1.25 punch. Like so. And you can see these line up nicely, just like that. All right. So with your 18 gauge fine silver wire, you'll need about 1.5 inches to 2 inches. I'm just going to cut a couple inches off because I find it easier to do it this way, and you'll see. Instead of sitting here cutting 1/2 inch pieces, I'm just going to cut a 2-inch piece. And we're going to make little tiny balls on the ends of it. And then we're going to cut them off and use them for our rivets, okay? Let me put some stuff away before I pull out a torch here. We'll pull this out so you can see what's going on. All right. So we're just going to make a couple ball pins is what we're doing, but I'm doing it on both ends of the wire because it's just easier for me to do it this way. Now, when you make these ball pins, you want the slightest little ball. It's just enough so that it doesn't pass through the hole, okay? The bigger the ball, the harder this will be to rivet because it just sort of slides around. So to make the ball, I'm just putting this wire straight up and down right at the blue tip, okay? And then we're going to flip this over and do it like so, and I'll show you my ball here in just a second. And if your ball is elongated, it's not going to be good. I can tell you that right now. It's not easy to work with that, so you want a really nice round ball. Okay, it's going to be a really tight zoom in so you can see how teeny weeny these balls are. You see that? It's just a little bit larger than the wire just to make an emphasis so it doesn't pass through your hole, okay? So then I'm going to cut it with the flush side to my ball. This is approximately 1/4 inch. It's not that much. You can cut it longer if you want, if it helps you, it gives you a little bit more working room, right? So we're gonna go like so. And I forgot, we need to pierce another hole. So here, I'm gonna match this up. I'm going to put my bezel cup somewhere in there and eyeball this. two ways of doing this. You can eyeball it and figure out where you want to put the hole and hope that you didn't go too far off the edge that it becomes an obstruction. Or we can make a hole, oops, in the center of this and use this as a, oops, I'm sorry, you can't see that. Make a hole in the center of the bezel cup and use the bezel cup as your marker, okay? I'm gonna start with that. Like so. You know what? I need to tighten this up. That's the one thing I struggle with these hand punches, is that you have to keep tightening them up. All right, so when you do this, be careful not to squeeze too hard because you might crush your bezel cup. So just enough to go through, you see, without destroying anything. And then I'm going to snip that little burr off of there. So we'll put this back down and then we'll mark it. So this will give me a marker like so, and that's where I'm going to put it. Okay. So the reason why we're doing this is because this is a cold connection project. If this was a hot project, we just solder all this stuff together, right? But because it's a cold connection project, we're going to rivet the two pieces together. It's a little tricky, and that's why we made this, so that we can actually put this punch inside of that bezel, the bezel cup, and we're going to use this as the punch and rivet the piece in place, okay? You can go ahead and do that now, or you can do that after. I think, I can't decide. Okay, I'll do it now. Why not? Let's see. I'm going to cut a little bit of 18 gauge wire, like so. I'm taking the end off to create a flush end on the wire, or else it's just gonna flop all over the place, right? And this is a teeny weeny little wire. And I'm just going to cut, about that much, like 1/8 of an inch maybe. Tweezers. This is tricky. Okay, so we're gonna put that in there. And put this on top. Okay. I'm trimming some of that off because that's way too much. Okay, it should be all the way to the other side too, so you can tell. But it's not sitting straight up for me, which means my cut's off. Let me do that again. There we go. And again, if you had a punch like this is actually a Craftsman that came in one of my toolkits. You can just put it right on there and start tapping at it, and it will splay. If you don't have one, again, back to the nail with the nail head, that will also work. You see, it's splayed on the bottom also, and that should keep it in place until you, I didn't go far enough. Yipes. Okay, I'm going to do that one more time. Okay. Cut another piece. Actually, you know what? I'm changing my mind. I'm going to use the ball peen. It'll make my life a lot easier. And it'll splay really well on the back side. Like so. So the ball peen from underneath. And put that in. And trim it. You want to leave about 1 millimeter worth of wire. You don't need a lot here to get that to happen. Okay. Ooh. It's fickle business. This is why I solder everything. Oh, good. Okay, so you see that on the back side? It's splayed. And that, oh yeah, she's on there. All right, there it is. And there this is. Very cool. I'm going to now mark one, believe it or not, I'm just going to do one. I'm just going to mark one piece or one hole on here. And try to remember which one it is. Wait. Because if your cuts are not perfect, you need to keep track of where you're marking, or else it's not going to work. It's not going to fit back. So we're just going to do that, and I'm going to put an X right there. Punch this hole. You can go ahead and punch all 4 holes on your bottom piece, but the problem is I can't get this stuff to be even. So this is how I'm approaching it, okay? Because when I hammer my rivets, I can't hammer them straight. This is why we don't do cold connection. It's a challenge for Q, right? But it's a technique, and it's, you know, it's an interesting way of approaching it. So here, I'm actually going to go from the top down because I really like the ball on top to create an embellishment. So I'm just going to flip it over and put that in. Oops. Flip this over like so. And put my my loop inside. And then do this. There we are. Okay. Try to get this even. And I'm going to hang this off because of my bezel cup. And I'm holding this, trying to keep everything as even as I possibly can. And I'm trimming off any excess wire. So, hand cramp. Not enough water today. Need to go hydrate. Okay. I'm being a bit particular, and I'm making sure that everything is even. I'm holding with my fingers. I'm holding all the pieces and making it nice and even. Okay? So I'm going to go right in here, and I'm going to tap down on that rivet, and it should set it in place. Ooh. Again, you want to do that as even and as flat as you possibly can. There we are. So here on the other side, you can see I'm slightly off because I can't hammer straight. It's a thing. So I'm going to force it a little bit more, like so. And then I'm going to make sure that my loop is in that hole, that there's no obstructions in that hole. And I'm going to punch it right through the existing hole and go down. I know that I can't get through the whole thing, but notice I created a dimple, and that tells me where I need to punch. this is retrofitting. This is what we do. And there's a hole, which is going to make a nice, even cut. So what I have here is a little bit of that. Oh, see, there's my little brass cutout. Okay, and if I don't think you can see that through there, but it is now perfectly through. Okay, since I used my rivet, I need to make a couple more. So give me a second. Let's make a couple more. Wow. Again, we're just making ball pins, and we're making the slightest of balls, right? Just very, very slight. Okay, maybe too slight. That's one. I'm going to still use this piece because it's long enough, and I'm going to do it again on the other side, and I'm going to cut it in half. I know I'm going to need a third one because I used up one of them. Okay. Trim that like so. And again, from the front, we're going to go through that hole, and look, it goes right through. Woohoo! It matches. Let's come in so you can see that. So you can see, I'll turn this to the side, you can see how much wire I have. That's way too much. So we're going to trim that down just a little bit. But not too much, because it does need enough metal to splay and fill that hole, or else it's going to fall through. You know, so a couple things. If your rivet's falling through, it's one of two things. You cut it too short and there wasn't enough metal to splay out, okay? Or that you did not splay enough of it. So we'll go here once again. Right down on it. Right down on it. Ooh. Okay. And then we'll do the same thing on the other side. Like so. And then like so. Okay. Okay, so I pierced the holes right through because this has been locked into place, so I'm not worried about it shifting anymore. And we'll put our wires right in there. Make sure that it is in the loop. Okay, and that the hole is free of any obstructions. We'll take another ball pin, put it through, like so. Trim it. So there, that is trimmed, and we'll set that one, just like so. See, with the ball pins, it makes it a really just nice accent with a little, I don't know, it just makes me happy. How's that? Okay, I need a little bit more wire. And one last ball pin. I find it really interesting that when I'm doing a cold connection, it's so much messier for me than doing soldering. I mean, look at all this stuff, right? It's just so much stuff. Okay. Let's come in close again. And you know, I did forget to patina this piece, so I'll show you how to patina the brass when we're pretty much done. You can patina it if you want, or you can leave it if you want. It's up to you and what kind of a look you are looking for. Trimming that there, and we'll set that in place. Yeah, hammering straight is not something I do, clearly, but there it is. Okay, so to patina this, again, sort of up to you how you want to do it. You can throw it in some liver of sulfur if you want, or you can do a little heat patina. So here, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to throw a little heat on the brass to get it to darken up. I like doing it this way because, you know, I like my torch. And in the process, my copper is going to oxidize too, as you can see. And look at that. There it is. And that's how I'm going to keep it. I'll quench it just because I can. Yep, we'll keep it like that. Okay. You can do the heating. I would probably recommend that you do the heating before you do any of the riveting. That way you don't risk melting your bezel cup, because that bezel cup is, you know, really thin. Bezel cups are really thin. I think they're made like 28 or 30 gauge. I don't know why. All right, so now you're probably wondering where that disc comes into play that came with your kit. Because you have this whole hot mess in here, you want to cover it up, and that's what the disc is for. You just put the disc right inside, and because your stones, all of them, were transparent, you want the reflective value that's coming from the silver. Okay, so we're going to stick this in here, and yes, the bezel cups are a bit tight, so it's going to take a little bit to push it in, but they do go in, and you might find it a little bit more helpful to pull out your nylon nose pliers. Let's see if it's big enough, and help it out. Okay, be careful, they are stones, and push it in. Oh, that went in really nicely. Cool. All right, and as tight as this is, it's not coming out, but you do want to set it. All right, so we'll pull out our burnisher, and we're just going to burnish. Let's see if you can see that. So I'm taking out the burnisher like so, and I'm burnishing the bezel to the stone, and I'm pushing it to the stone to set it. Just like so. And that is how we set the stone. See, if I knock it, it's not going to come out. So you want to make sure when you're looking at your project and you're looking at the stone, you see that bezel, it's really nice. It's a nice transition to the stone. It's nice and even, and that's what you're looking for. If you have little curls on there, just take out that burnisher and push it down. It does take some force, and you know, although it's like 28 or 30 gauge, it should happen fairly easily. Typically, when I'm teaching a regular bezel, we would take out a bezel rocker, but with bezel cups, I always just use a burnisher because it's so easy, it's so soft to move it down, right? So that's it. Okay, so you're going to cut your pieces, you'll pierce your holes, you'll make your loops, and you'll set your frame. We're setting the frame, the bezel cup with a rivet also by piercing a hole through the middle of that bezel, and we're covering that up by putting by putting the disc inside before we put the stone in there, so we don't see that the rivet itself, and so it's a nice smooth transition. Okay, so I'm reading your comments here. Let's see. Real pants today. Oh. Yes, I'm wearing real pants today. And yes, aren't rivets fun? Sure. I feel there's sarcasm in that a little bit. Wasn't that fun? I know. I'll be getting phone calls on this one. But hey, let's put it this way. If you decide that you can't rivet this, just solder it. I know all of you guys know how to solder this. We just did this to mix it up, right? All right, so yes, that was long, a little bit belabored. I haven't sent out the instructions yet. Instructions are coming. And so Wednesday, what's coming up? Wednesday, we are doing step-by-step surprise boxes. And on Friday, we are doing the time capsule, second project on the time capsule. And next Monday, we're going to finish this up. We'll do the cuff. It'll be a short one next Monday. We'll do the cuff. But anyway, and then I'm off. I'm off to Salt Lake. Who's coming with me? I know none of you guys are coming with me, but who's gonna join me? It's a hybrid, which means you can join me also for a Zoom class the following Friday. That is at Stephanie Chavez's studio, and you can find her online. I believe it's stephaniechavezstudio.com. Anyway, hope you guys have fun with this one. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for liking our video. You know, if you're watching out there, as a friend of mine was telling me the other day, she's being very voyeuristic about these videos, and she's out there sort of lurking. I said, well, don't be a lurker. Like it. We need you to like the videos. We need you to share the videos, or at least comment on the Twitch, so that we can utilize that algorithm and get this pushed out. So we really appreciate everyone hanging out and being here. And thanks for the compliment on the nails. Yeah, got the nails this weekend. Anyway, so that's the project for today. We'll see you guys on Wednesday. Have a great rest of the